Welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Ethnic Vote, Ghana's 2000 elections and the limits of identity politics. I'm your host, and we're diving deep into a fascinating question. How much does ethnicity really explain voting behavior in Ghana's landmark 2000 elections? To help us unpack this, we'll be referencing historian Paul Nugent's pivotal article titled Ethnicity as an Explanatory Factor in the Ghana 2000 Elections. This piece delves into voting returns, party strategies, and local histories to explore both the power and the limitations of ethnic politics. So let's set the stage for our discussion. In December 2000, Ghana experienced its first peaceful transfer of power by ballot since the return to multi-party rule in the 1990s. The ruling party at the time, the National Democratic Congress, often referred to as the NDC, was defeated by the opposition party, the New Patriotic Party, or NPP. This election marked a significant moment in Ghanaian history, as the NPP secured half of the parliamentary seats and their presidential candidate, John Kufuor, prevailed over NDC's John Atta Mills in a runoff election. It was a historical turn that ended nearly 2 decades of rule associated with Jerry Rawlings and the NDC. Now let's talk about ethnicity in Ghana. Ethnicity has long been intertwined with Ghana's political narrative. Historical divides, like the Akan-Nankani distinctions surrounding the Ashanti Kingdom, and the feelings of marginalization from areas like the Volta and northern regions, have influenced political alignments and voter behavior. Observers often characterize the NPP as an Akan or Ashanti-leaning party, while they saw the NDC as rooted in Ewe communities in the Volta and northern regions. This led many to assume that voting behavior was simply an ethnic bloc phenomenon. But Paul Nugent challenges that notion. He acknowledges that while ethnicity does matter, it cannot be reduced to a simplistic map where tribal affiliations dictate electoral outcomes. He highlights that ethnic identities in Ghana are layered and fluid, shaped by migration, chieftaincy politics, and the legacies of colonial and post-colonial governance. This complexity means ethnic labels often don't align neatly with party support. Instead, Nugent analyzes actual voting data from the 1996 and 2000 elections to discern patterns. He finds continuity in certain strongholds, but also instances where voters swung or shifted their allegiances based on local issues, disrupting any straightforward ethnic narrative. It's a nuanced picture. Interestingly, during the 2000 campaign, both major parties stepped away from overt ethnic appeals, despite the strong potential for ethnic mobilization. Publicly, the NDC and NPP branded themselves as national parties. They pushed themes like corruption, economic hardship, the desire for change, and continuity rather than pledging benefits to specific ethnic groups. Yet, beneath the surface, ethnic dynamics were still a concern. The NDC was anxious about losing ground in Ewe-speaking areas, and certain Ashanti constituencies remained closely tied to the NPP's historical leadership lineage. When ethnic language did emerge in the campaign, like speculating whether a northern running mate would balance an Akan presidential ticket, it was often competing with broader campaign narratives, rather than dominating the conversation. Now, turning to the regional results, Nugent's research reveals some surprising trends. The NPP solidified its support in Ashanti and made significant gains in the eastern and Brong-Ahafo regions, areas with strong Akan populations. Meanwhile, the NDC retained pockets of support in the Volta region and parts of the north, but faced declines in urban and swing constituencies where dissatisfaction with economic conditions was mounting. The data illustrates clear ethnic strongholds, but it also highlights exceptions. Not every Akan area voted for the NPP, and not all Ewe or northern constituencies stayed loyal to the NDC. Shifts often reflected deep-seated feelings of marginalization, demands for local development, or perceptions about which party was more responsive to the needs of youth and the urban poor, rather than simple ethnic loyalty. Nugent introduces a concept he terms discourses of marginality. This helps us understand how groups feeling excluded, whether economically, regionally, or politically, interpreted competing party messages in the 2000 elections. For many urban voters, the NPP's promises of positive change and cleaner governance resonated as practical solutions to everyday frustrations like unemployment, corruption, and inadequate public services. Younger voters in particular, faced with limited opportunities, gravitated toward parties portraying themselves as modern, capable, and sensitive to social inequality. This complicated the expectation that young voters would merely follow their elders' ethnic allegiances. The interconnectedness of class, age, and local issues alongside ethnicity created a more fluid electoral landscape than a rigid ethnic map would suggest. So, what does all this mean for understanding the wider context of African elections? Ghana's 2000 elections serve as a crucial reference point for democratic transitions across the continent. Nugent warns against oversimplifying that narrative to fit an ethnic script. While ethnicity did provide some structure to the electoral landscape, factors like economic grievances, marginalization, and party credibility were equally influential in determining outcomes. For analysts, campaigners, and voters throughout Africa, the key takeaway is to treat ethnicity as one of many threads in a complex tapestry of political motivations. To comprehend why Ghanaians voted as they did in 2000 and how their voting behavior might continue to evolve, it's essential to pay close attention to the overlapping narratives surrounding identity, opportunity, and the quest for change. That wraps up our exploration of ethnic politics in Ghana and the significant lessons from the 2000 elections. We've seen how intricately ethnicity weaves through the political fabric, while also recognizing the broader social and economic themes at play. Thank you for joining us today on this journey through Ghana's electoral history. It's been an enlightening conversation, one that sheds light on how identity, grievances, and political aspirations shape electoral dynamics. Until next time, continue to explore the complex world of politics with an open mind.